Mark, thank you so much for inviting me to your favourite bar, Doherty and Nesbitt's in the south centre of Dublin.
Hiya, Gary. Yeah, thanks very much. I think Donny and Nesbitt's, everybody would probably know from the centre of Dublin, but it is a bar that I like, and I suppose I'm a real dub, and you can hear from my accent. I love going into Dublin and love the city centre, so probably a bar that I go into regular.
It sort of hijacked, wasn't it, a bit during the Celtic Tiger boom?
Yeah.
I was sort of hijacked by those that used to have helicopters landing on the ceiling, maybe I might suggest, right? But in its heart, I was just looking at the wall there before we came in. I'm in the snug. I don't know where you are. I can't see it. Yeah. But I'm in the snug. And my goodness, there's a lot of history on those walls.
There is, yeah. And there's a lot of bars around that area that have serious history. And I think that's what you just said there. It has the snug. It has the old bar, it has the old ceilings, the old wooden floors, and just has that old character.
Yeah.
You can get a fry in there on a. I can bring the lads for a fry in there on a Friday morning, and you can meet all types of diverse people, all ages in there, and I just think it's a very old, but has a bit of character. I know it's changed over the years, but it's definitely a bar that has different. Characteristics that I like. Nice point in it as well.
Isn't that true though about a bar? And we can, I know a lot of international people watch this show, and a bar might mean different things to them, but a bar actually was like either a city bar or an urban bar. It was actually a place to meet, because there's very few other places than football pitches, or if you didn't play the GAA and stuff. So it's actually just a place to meet and drink. I know that they've changed. You said that there you can go for a fry and stuff. But the bars now, they're doing well in keeping up with the gastro pubs and all the rest. It's a changing landscape, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, the real traditional bars don't do food because they feel it affects. But there's something nice about being able to get a fry, and bring the lads that you're working with and your colleagues for a fry in the morning and have a few cup of tea or whatever. I know it's not the old days where you had a pint with your fry. We can't do that anymore, with everything else. But there's something about that as well. Or you're going shopping in town.
Yeah.
You can be there with your missus, after the shopping you get a bite to eat, you have a drink. You might stay a few hours and watch a rugby match,
Yeah. A lot of I'll just have one. I'll just stay here for one, turned into one day. But anyway,
yeah.
that's a different discussion, right? So I'm in the snug. You're up in the bar where door bursts open. Who would you love to see, Mark, dead or alive, to walk in? That you can have a chat with one person.
It's a great question, and I've two loves in my life and outside of work, sport and music. And I thought about this and said, Luke Kelly's dead, and imagine the stories he'd have. But I think Mick Jagger, I seen the Stones a couple of years ago in Dublin, and I thought, wow, they blew me away. 70 odd years of age, played for an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I thought, imagine the stories Mick Jagger could tell you within an hour of his life. Imagine the madness that they got up to over the last, what are they going, over 40 years?
70, they're on the go. 50, man.
50. And I think of like the profession, because it is like that's their job. And you think, sports people, do they really get to enjoy their life? Not as much as rock stars. And him looking out onto whether it's Croke Park or Wembley at 80,000 people screaming and dancing and enjoying themselves, that feeling he must have while he's having a few drinks, after and before, and whatever else, right? I just think that must be the feeling of, this is the best job in the world. And I'm having the crack, and the stories and after parties and madness that I suppose they've got up to. I just think that he'd be a good guy to meet, and I like the Stones as well. They've been around a long time, so
yeah, the stories. But it does bring in your managing director of a company that has all types and sorts and ages and talents and stuff. And I guess the word that I'd often use with someone like Mick Jagger or Paul McCartney and these guys is they don't have to stand up on that stage. They want they want to. Why? The passion. The passion. And therefore it's like a job, right? I don't know if your mum and dad ever said, but if you I was always told if you can find something that you like to do, you'll never work a day in your life. Now you know yourself, it changes, but it's a bit like that, isn't it? You know, for younger listeners to this show, even try and do something you like. It helps.
Could you imagine the buzz, him walking out on that stage, and the feeling? You know, the whole. We all get it. I get it when you go into a presentation. I like it.
You like it. You like it. And even different to sports stars. And actually, as it happens later on in the week, I'm interviewing an ex-rugby international. And they have the opposite challenge. They walk out on a Sunday, their final match, to 80,000 people chanting their name, with kids with their names on the back of the jerseys. And tomorrow, I don't do that anymore. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. How do you adjust?
Yeah.
How do you adjust? And this is what I'd be interested in asking the questions to him. Change is constant. How do you adjust from seven? You know, whereas Mick Jagger and those guys, they can whack out the song again on the stage. These guys, it changes, but it's a great thing. But as you and I both said off air, right? I'd say Jagger is also like those glad there wasn't smartphones 50 years ago.
I tell you, that's it. Well, fair play to them. They kept going to the, like, when I seen them couple of years ago, to see how much they bounced around that stage and entertained people at that age, to still be going. That's phenomenal. Like, you know,
it's a bit like us as well. Certainly about me when I said about I go to America for a few days to bring a delegation. I'm full of adrenaline. I'm feeling good. I get back and I feel like I'll have to retire. So maybe there's a bit of that as well. So no, Mick Jagger, Jeannie Mac. I think what you're saying is he epitomizes an ilk of person, a type of person that really enjoys what they do. And again, the byproduct is if you enjoy what you do, you never retire. Because that's something that they could easily do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Teach me something about you that I don't know.
I suppose I mentioned it to you there. Like, I have two major, I suppose, passions after work, and we all need the work-life balance. And the second one outside of music is sport.
Right.
And I love all sport. I'm probably a sport fanatic, and I have a bucket list. And the bucket list is to get to every kind of sport and main event in different countries over there, and do one of them a year.
Okay.
So I suppose I got that probably growing up, where my father played for Bows and my sister played for Ireland soccer, and my brother was a champion kickboxer. So I kind of got sport was in the family, and my dad was always watching snooker, darts. There was always sport on the telly. So I find myself now, you know, saying, right, I've got to see Ireland beat the All Blacks in Dublin there. I've got to see Ronnie O'Sullivan beat Henry in the snooker. Wow. I've went to the darts, which was great crack, and the experience of it. I've went to the Euros when Ireland qualified. We had to wait till not like the good years in the 80 and 90s, but I went to France with me mates, and we got a camper van and went over for the Euros, and I cried when Robbie Brady scored against Italy, and I didn't cry when my 4 kids were born. And I told the wife, and she's looking at me going, "Are you for real?" And I'm actually
still together, right? So you
still together, yeah. And I'm actually thinking, what does that sporting event do though? Like, where you bring your son to a match and he'll never forget it, and the hairs on the back of your neck when, you know, the All Blacks are doing the haka and the Fields of Athenry is going in the background, and you're going, this is something special here. I'm at the witnessing today with me son, with your mates, with your wife. And every year I'm going to go. I brought the wife to Ascot because of the racing and things like that. Just different events every year. And I've still got a big list, Garry. So I suppose.
Isn't that the wonderful thing, that there is a big list? And it's also great to hear that you're nearly sport agnostic.
Yeah.
Because if anything, you can get too deep and too narrow in a single sport, and even get grumpy when your team doesn't win or lose, and you're
Yeah,
missing out, aren't you?
I don't have any, as I said to you, like I look at there recently, the darts was brilliant, the final, watched the snooker there during the week. The World Cup final in the soccer was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's pantomime. Amazing.
The GAA is brilliant. You know, like I mean, I'd watch literally table tennis, and the only sport that I didn't like years ago was cricket. And then Ireland started getting good at it, and I said, I'll actually watch this now because, like you, Gary, and like host, we punch above our weight, Ireland. And when you
It's
start beating the All Blacks, little Ireland, and when Katie Taylor's winning titles in sport, you kind of go step back and go, "We're doing all right," you
Well,
know.
there's two sides, and so much that you're saying there that you can transfer from sport into life and into
Yeah.
businesses. Is that we all become what we see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see all that diversity of different sports. I actually went to a community school and I played cricket, would you believe, because of the influences of a chaplain, right? Now we were
Right.
absolutely brutal. Now, when I say we were brutal, we were worse than brutal. Some days we were looking to get zero, that's how bad we were. But honest to God, it gave us an appreciation of how hard it is to play that
Yeah.
when there's a 6 foot young fella throwing a brick at you, and you're doing well enough to get out of the way, but they're actually expecting you to hit it.
Yeah.
Because you were experienced it early, it gave you an appreciation. Now, in saying that, I wouldn't go to the Lords for 5 days,
Yeah.
but I certainly give 2020, that mad whacking thing a go. But I'd like to bring you slightly to the thing that I believe strongly, and it sounds like you do as well. We often forget, don't we, what people have said to us, but we always remember how they made us feel. That's my life anyway. And creating experiences for people, like your son, like your wife, like your colleagues,
Yeah.
like your an experience is something that stays with you for possibly ever. And that's what, like, even at Christmas and that, you're better off giving someone an experience. Like, I'll bring you into town to walk around Stephen's Green for the Ducks, or bring you to Donny and Nesbitt's. That's an
Yeah.
experience. And I think that's what you're about there when you're saying you are giving yourself an experience rather than buying yourself a new cashmere shirt.
You're giving yourself an experience. You're giving yourself a memory with someone you love, and you're experiencing the culture of that event and the country or wherever it is.
Yeah.
When we were in France, I mean it, Gary, 2 weeks, I drove the camper van, and owners of pubs literally said, put that camper van, which had a tricolour on it, put it outside the door, park it up on the curb there, come on in here, free drink. They literally, the Irish passport was literally, they were offering you to stay in their houses. Do you want to stay in my house tonight?
Sure, you were in France. That doesn't sound like the France I'm being told.
I
Where
know, but
maybe that's
they
a
were
Parisian.
sound, but they were absolutely. I didn't get any aggro for 2 weeks. We just got full crack, and I think when we watched the Euro '88 years ago, my brother went to that and had that experience, and you look at Italia '90. I was waiting on this event to say I'm on that. When that happens, I'm gone.
Gelsenkirchen, Genie McMahon, you're bringing me
You
back.
know?
Gelsenkirchen, that you were only a tiny boy, but when Ray Houghton headed that ball into the English net, as they say, you talk about hairs in the back of your neck. My old father, I remember sitting with him, and he said, "I can't believe that happened. Did we score? Did we actually?" It was nearly a pinch moment, So you sound like you'd be able to make up a few quotes of your own. But I'm going to ask you, if there was a quote that you love, or a comment or something you love, sort of in the back of your mind that you bring up regularly, what would that be?
It's a quote me dad used to always say to me, Lord of mercy on him. And he used to say it to me most days. He used to say, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And he used to say it's nice to be nice. And I probably brought that into business, brought it into sport, and everyone likes to be the center of attention, and everyone likes to be the main man or whatever. But if you're a nice guy, you get on in business. I think people like you, you'll get on in business, and you'll do business with somebody that you like. If you get on in sport, if you get on and you know, become part of the team. And I just brought it into, you know, as a leader in a business, obviously, as well, looking at everyone's situation differently and being, you know, practical and diverse about being nice as a starting point. And we all have to get nasty in business, and we all have to be, but just as a starting point, be nice. Don't, if you have problems, don't walk around the office with a big face, and you know, keep them problems to yourself, and, you know, say hello to people and be nice.
You'd be more Messi than a Roy Keane, would you? Would you be? You know, Roy Keane was. He's hard to give a label to. Messi, you saw a bit more of that, the steel during the last World Cup, but he always had that nice. You felt.
Yeah.
And
I just think there's something that's what my dad always used to say, and I say it to my own kids. You know, you're always worrying about bullying and, you know, kids in school and that. And I always get nice notes off the teachers to say, you know, Bobby's great and he helps other kids, or Ross is doing well in school and he's great in the class and all. I'm always conscious of that, because, you know, nowadays, you know, there's a lot more access to bullying, and I think if you can bring your kids up with that, be nice, and, you know, it's nice to be nice attitudes. I think that's a good quote to resonate into business and life.
Isn't that lovely? Because to be frank, Mark, it's very easy to understand that quote. Sometimes I hear brilliant quotes from brilliant people, and they're so academically brilliant that I can't work them out what they're actually saying. It's like when I went to school, you read the sonnets from Shakespeare, and everyone would be waxing lyrical, and I actually didn't understand what the words meant. So I think that's an important thing too, that we could all help with, is that you use words and language and body language that is not what for you, but for the audience you're talking to. You know, I've heard you talk many times, and I've seen you with your staff and all their and clients and stuff. And you talk that you're trying to get them to understand, not for them to think you're the smartest dude in the room.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the whole thing sometimes you get with professional people, engineering people, is that I want you to believe that I'm smart. Whereas actually the whole thing should be, I want you to understand.
Turn it around.
What we're trying to do, you know?
Yeah. What can we do for you?
What can we help you with? So, Mark, listen, it's been short and sharp. It's been wonderful. I mean, the insights that you've given about a lot of what you stand for. And we started off in a pub. We went to football pitches. We went to cricket matches. I don't think we've been at a cricket match on this show. You know, so when I see it at a Formula One race in Monaco or something, I see it, you got there.
You got that this year, yeah.
You got another bucket list. So, Mark, I wish you the very best for the year. Thank you for joining Hosting Ireland. I know you're in for the first year. And
thanks for having me, Garry.
Yeah,
appreciate it and enjoyed it.
Yeah,
excited to be on board with hosting anyway, and thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.